You've felt it before. That specific sadness when a great book ends. Not grief, not disappointment, something else entirely. Or that sudden urge to jump, not because you want to die, but just because the edge is there. Psychologists study thousands of emotions. They've named hundreds of syndromes, built entire diagnostic manuals. And yet, these feelings you carry every single day, most of them don't have an official name. A 2012 study from the University of Queensland found that unnameable emotions are processed differently. They linger 40% longer in the brain than emotions we can label. You're not imagining them. Your brain is holding on to something it cannot file away. Number 8. Cute aggression. You see a puppy or a baby, and something violent happens in your brain. You want to squeeze it hard, not to hurt it, but you can't stop the impulse. Oriana Aragon at Yale University studied this in 2015. She called it cute aggression. Brain scans showed that overwhelming positive emotion, joy, love, tenderness, triggers the same neural pathway as aggression. Your brain floods so fast with positive feeling that it short-circuits, and the overflow comes out as a physical urge to crush the thing you love. You are walking around with a system so poorly calibrated that joy and violence share the same wire. And here's the detail that makes it impossible to dismiss. It gets stronger the cuter the stimulus is. Number 7. Feeling watched when alone. You're alone in a room, lights on, door locked, and something tells you to look behind you. There's nothing there. There never is. But the feeling doesn't care. Researchers at Karolinska Institute found that the brain has a dedicated threat detection circuit that runs independently of conscious thought. It doesn't wait for evidence. It fires first, asks questions never. This system kept your ancestors alive in dark forests for 200,000 years. It cannot be turned off. It was never designed to be turned off. So when you sit alone at 2 a.m. and your skin prickles, that's not anxiety. That's not paranoia. That's something much older and far less civilized running quietly in the background. Number 6. Nostalgia for a time you never lived in. Some people feel a deep ache for the 1970s, or medieval villages, or ancient Rome. They weren't there. They have no memories of it, but the longing feels real. Konstantin Sedekidis at the University of Southampton spent 15 years studying nostalgia. What he found was unexpected. Nostalgia doesn't require personal memory. It can attach itself to cultural imprints, stories, aesthetics, inherited emotional patterns passed through generations. 391 documented cases in his research showed people grieving for eras they never witnessed. Your brain can miss a home it never had. The answer stopped researchers cold because it meant nostalgia isn't about memory at all. It's about identity searching for an anchor in a world moving too fast. Number 5. Loving rain but not knowing why. It starts raining and something in you exhales. Not relief, not happiness exactly, something quieter and older. Neuroscientist Rachel Herz at Brown University found that the smell of rain, petrichor, activates the limbic system at 3 times the rate of most natural sense. The emotional response to rain isn't learned. It appears in children raised indoors, in people who live in deserts, across cultures with no rain mythology. It's preloaded. Some researchers believe early humans used rain as a safety signal. Predators shelter, hunting pauses, the world goes quiet. 229% more neural calm response during rain sounds compared to silence. You don't love rain because it's romantic. You love rain because for 100,000 years, rain meant you were safe. Number 4. Feeling like everyone has a manual except you. Social situations. A room full of people who seem to know what to do, where to stand, when to laugh, how to exist without effort. And you're calculating every micro-decision like you're defusing a bomb. Psychologist Julianne Holt-Lunstad at Brigham Young University found that social performance anxiety, the feeling of being the only one without instructions, affects 68% of adults regularly. Not socially anxious people, not introverts, 68% of all adults. And here's the detail that makes it impossible to dismiss. The people who look like they have the manual? In controlled studies, they report the exact same feeling when watching you. Everyone is improvising. No manual exists. Your brain invented a document that was never written, and then convinced you everyone else received a copy. Number 3. The urge to jump from high places. You're on a rooftop, a cliff, a tall bridge. You have no desire to die, no depression, no dark thoughts, and yet the urge flickers. What if I just stepped forward? French researchers in 2012 gave this a name, l'appel du vide, the call of the void. Jennifer Hames at Florida State University studied 431 people. Half reported this experience. Most were psychologically healthy. Watch what happens in the brain scan. The moment a person stands at height, the threat detection system fires, and then the survival system responds. It generates a counter signal. Move back, step away. But the brain misreads its own signal. You were never drawn to the edge. Your brain was just very bad at reading its own emergency memo. Number 2. Sadness when a good book ends. The last page, you close the cover, and something that feels very close to grief settles in. Not disappointment that it's over, actual loss, like saying goodbye to someone real. Psychologist Shira Gabriel at University of Buffalo ran a series of studies on narrative identity absorption. When you read deeply, your brain doesn't simulate a character, it becomes them. Mirror neurons fire. Emotional memory forms. The brain builds a relationship, chemically identical to a real one. When the story ends, the relationship ends. And here's what stopped researchers cold. The grief response after finishing a beloved book showed identical neural markers to losing a real friendship. Your brain cannot tell the difference between a character and a person. It mourns both the same way. Number 1. Feeling like you're living the wrong life. This is the one nobody says out loud. A quiet, persistent sense, not depression, not unhappiness exactly, that somewhere a different version of you is living the life that was actually meant for you. The career you didn't take, the city you didn't move to, the person you didn't become. Psychologist Daniel Kahneman at Princeton spent decades studying what he called the remembering self versus the experiencing self. Two separate systems, running simultaneously, often in conflict. The experiencing self lives your actual life, moment to moment. The remembering self constructs a narrative and constantly edits it against alternate versions. In 2009, a landmark study of 3,000 adults found that 73% reported a recurring, low-grade feeling of living adjacent to their real life. Not beside it, adjacent. And here's the detail that makes it impossible to dismiss. This feeling peaks not in people who made bad choices. It peaks in people who made safe ones. The people who took every correct, reasonable, sensible step. Something much older takes over in those quiet moments. An instinct that knows the difference between a life chosen and a life defaulted into. You can build a perfectly fine existence and still feel in the silence that you missed the door.